Hey guys, today we're going to learn about some basic structures and functions within our digestive systems. When we first ingest food, it enters the mouth. Within the mouth, we have both mechanical and chemical digestion. So physical and chemical changes happening to the food that we ingest. Our teeth mechanically digest the food by biting and chewing them and breaking them down into smaller pieces. Our incisors and canines, or the teeth towards the front of our mouth, help bite food and cut it. And then our canines, or the teeth towards the back of our mouth, help to grind it down into smaller pieces. At the same time, we have saliva in our mouths. This contains amylase, an enzyme which breaks down starch into sugars. The process of chewing forms the food into a bolus, or a small ball, which then moves to the back of the tongue and into the esophagus. Once inside the esophagus, the bolus moves down towards the stomach. There are two main types of muscles in the esophagus: circular muscles, which contract or tighten and close the diameter of the esophagus, and longitudinal muscles, which contract or tighten to make the esophagus shorter in length. These two muscles work together to make waves of contractions called peristalsis. This pushes the bolus in a slow and controlled way down the esophagus. Next, the food moves into the stomach. Inside the stomach is gastric acid, also known as hydrochloric acid, which kills off any bacteria in the food. It also contains protease, or an enzyme that breaks down proteins into amino acids. After about 2 to 6 hours, the food moves from the stomach into the small intestine. The small intestine is divided into two parts. The first is the duodenum. The duodenum contains lots of enzymes secreted from the pancreas, including proteases, lipases, and amylases that finish breaking down the starches, proteins, and fats. This process began in the mouth and in the stomach, and it finishes in the small intestine. These enzymes work best in alkaline conditions. So bile is used to dilute and neutralize any acid from the stomach. Bile is made in the liver and then stored in our gallbladders. Another purpose of the bile is that it emulsifies fats or increases their surface area. So they go from being one larger piece to many smaller pieces. And this allows the lipases to break them down more easily. The second part of the small intestine is the ileum. The main role of the ileum is to absorb water and nutrients into the body. To do this effectively, it's covered in villi, or tiny finger-shaped structures. The surface of the villi is just one cell thick, so nutrients can easily move from the small intestine inside to the rest of the body. Inside that one cell thick, or epithelial layer, are two different types of structures. The first type is blood capillaries. Some nutrients move through the layer of the villi into the blood and then are able to move through the body. These structures are glucose, or the monomer of sugar, and amino acids, or the monomers of proteins. The other structure is the lacteal. This takes fatty acids and glycerol, or the monomers of fats, and moves them into the lymph. Just like in the esophagus, food is pushed through the intestines via peristalsis, or wave-like contractions of muscles. The final part of the digestive system is the large intestine, which is divided into three parts. First is the colon, where any remaining water is absorbed into the body. This leaves behind solid waste known as feces. Before exiting the body, feces are stored inside the rectum, and then they are removed from the digestive system via the anus. If you have any questions, please leave them in your notes and we'll address them next time in class.